Dear ones, today our topic is tenses. So I have given these crayon colors to indicate that we are studying tenses from school days, but still we are not very sure of how to use these tenses. What are tenses actually? They are the changes in verb form which give signals about time and duration of an action or event and other informations also. So there can be various situations where the action has been over or it will not be proceeded, so it comes under past. So when actions are happening now, they are considered to be present, and something which will be happening after now is considered as future. So only these three are studied in tenses. So these are studied under different headings. So if you're going to study about the past, you will be studying whether it is a past as a simple past or past continuous or past perfect or past perfect continuous. Then with present tense, you'll be studying what is present simple present tense, what is the present continuous tense, what are present perfect and present perfect continuous tenses. Then with future also the same headings. So there are 12 forms of how you are going to use the verb and how you are going to indicate when the action happened. So this is very important in learning a language, because only with tenses we will be able to understand whether the action is continuing or not, or whether it was over, or whether it is going to happen. So you have to concentrate on these tenses, and in this video we are just going to concentrate on the basic and the first initial tense form, that is simple present. So simple present refers to the general present time. The simple present tense is using the base form of the verbs to indicate an action happening right now or when it happens regularly. So these are the situations where we are going to use the present tense. So let us see what is present simple tense. The simple present tense in English is used to describe an action that is regular, true, or normal. So note these three words. Something which is regular, that is something which has been happening for a long period of time. Which is true, something which is a state, okay, or something which is normal, so it happens at regular intervals. It gives information about permanent activities. For example, a dairy milk makes luxury chocolates, so even now it is making luxury chocolates. In the future also it will be making, and in the past also it was making, and now it is making, so it is considered as dairy milk makes luxury chocolates. So what are the situations we are going to use the simple present tense? We use the present tense for repeated or regular actions in the present time period. So you have been practicing it for the past also, but you are proceeding it in the time period when you are speaking. So I take bath daily. So that is the first example, some regular action. Next, you're going to describe a state that doesn't change. So, with the mountains and the volcanoes or anything which is not going to change but it is static, the action is static. Okay, he looks like his father. The mountains are standing high. All these are something which indicates the state. So you will be using the simple present tense when you're describing the state. Okay. Next, when you're talking about some routine activities which may be regular or which are often practiced again and again, repeated actions or habits. Example, I often travel abroad on business. So the picture is quite good for me. And for things that are always generally true, the sun rises in the east or west. Okay, find it out. And it rains a lot in winter. All these are general truth which happens all the time. So these are the different situations where you're going to use the simple present tense. So, what are the verb conjugations and spellings which you have to follow when you are going to use it in writing or use it in speaking? So, you have to use the correct form. When you're writing, you have to give the correct form. We form the present tense using the base form of the infinitive, and in general, in the third person, we add s in the third person. So, let us see the table. So, with the first person and second person, whether it is singular or plural, you will be using the base form of the verb. That's it. But when you are going to speak with the third person, that is as a third person, he or she, and you're going to use he or she or it, you will be adding yes to the base form of the verb. So, I speak English at home. We learn English at home. You speak English at home and you learn English at home. So this is for the first person, second person, whether it is singular or plural, you will be using only the base form of the verb. But when you are using he speaks, you will be adding s to the base form. He, she speaks, or it will not come. Okay, he or she speaks English at home. So this is the first basic rule which you have to follow. Next, the spelling for the verb in the third person differs depending on the ending of that verb. So with the word ending, with the alphabet which ends, you will be having different spellings. For verbs that end in o, remember the verbs that end with the letters o, ch, sh, ss, x or z. I repeat, verbs that end with the in o, ch, sh, ss, x or z. We will be adding es in the third person. We will be adding es along with the verb when you are talking with the third person. That is when you are using he or she. She goes to church regularly. She goes to the temple regularly. She catches flies. She washes dishes. I wash dishes. She washes. Okay, when you are using the third person and the words are ending with the verbs are ending with o, ch, sh, ss, x or z, you will be adding es when you are using it for the third person. Remember this. So these are the examples: go, goes, catch, catches, wash, washes, kiss, kisses, fix, fixes, bus, buses. All these are the word endings. Okay. Next, for verbs that end in a consonant y, we remove the y and add ies. So when it is going to have a consonant in front, so the y is a vowel, the y which has a consonant in front of it. So you can see that in marry, you're having a consonant in front of the y. So when you're having a consonant in front of a y, you will be changing it into you will be adding ies when you are going to use it in the third person. So she marries. Okay, she studies properly every day. Okay, she studies regularly. So when you are having a consonant in front of y, you will be adding ies to the verb. Okay. Next, for verbs that end in a vowel, that is along with the y plus one y. Okay, so before the y you will be having a vowel as you pronounce. You will be, if you are having a vowel, you will not be adding ies, but you will be just adding a yes to your verb. Okay, play, plays. You see that a is a vowel and y is a consonant and it is ending with y, so we are going to add only yes since the word before y is a vowel. Okay, enjoy, enjoys, say, says. The negative sentences in simple present tense. So in simple present tense, you're going to write a negative sentence. To make a negative sentence in English, we normally use don't or doesn't. it will be used with along with all the verbs except with be verbs. What are the be verbs? I, am and are be verbs. And modal verbs. What are the modal verbs? Can, might, could, should, all these are modal verbs. So except with these modal verbs or with the be verb, with all the other verb forms we will be using don't or doesn't to make a sentence, an affirmative sentence, into a negative one. So let us say, what is this? This is an affirmative sentence. You speak French. The negative sentence is you don't speak French. We add don't between the subject and the verb. So to change it into a negative sentence, we are adding a don't in between the subject and the verb. We use don't when the subject is I, you, we or they. That is, it has to be in the first person or the second person. When it is talking about the first person or second person and we are going to change it into a negative sentence, we will be adding don't in between the subject and the verb, and you will be using only don't when you are concentrating on the first person and the second person. So when the subject is he, she or it, that is when the subject is going to be a third person, we add doesn't. So with the first and second person, we add don't to make it a negative sentence. But here with the third person, you will be using doesn't. This is where you make many mistakes when you're speaking. So concentrate on it. When you're talking about the first person and the second person, you will be using don't to change an affirmative sentence into a negative sentence. But when you are concentrating on the third person, you will be using doesn't. Okay, let us see. In the affirmative sentence, he speaks German. He speaks German. So we saw that you will be adding yes to the base form when you are talking about, when you are concentrating on the third person. Next, in the negative sentence, you are adding doesn't in between the subject and the verb to make it a negative sentence, and the subject is in the third person. Remember that. Okay. Examples of negative sentences with don't and doesn't. Let us see. You don't speak Arabic. John doesn't speak Italian. We don't have time for a rest. So it is also in plural forms. You will be having don't. It doesn't move. They don't want to go to the party. She doesn't like fish. So in the third person you will be using doesn't, and for the second and the first person you will be using don't. Okay, word order of questions with do or does. The word order to construct a basic question in English, you have to use do or does. Okay, for what, for in which situation you will be using do, and in which situation you will be using does. So when you are going to ask a question and you are asking it through a first person or second person, that is a first person or second person in your sentence. So do will be coming first. Do you have a new bike? Do you have a pen? So do I respect you? Do I? Okay, you will be for the first person and the second person, whether it is singular or plural, you will be using do to ask a question. So with the third person you will be using does to indicate that the sentence is stressing on the subject, the third person of the subject. So he or she. Does she have a new bike? Okay, now you have to understand and apply this when you are speaking or writing. So where you are going to use don't and doesn't, do or does. So when you're going to use when you're going to change a positive sentence into a negative sentence, where you have to use don't and where you have to use doesn't, you should know. Only with the subject it differs. Okay, when you're talking about the first person and the second person, you will be using don't, and when you are talking about the third person you will be using doesn't. And when you are asking questions, when you're going to use about the first person, second person, whether it is singular or plural, you will be using do, and with the third person you will be using does to ask a question. So with this in mind, we are completing the introduction which we have for simple present tense. This is more than enough for you for now. So complete these sentences with present simple tense of the verb for us to revise. Okay. We normally hold our sales conference in Spain. So what is the base form of the verb? Hold is the base form of the verb. So what is the past form of this verb? Held. Okay. So now we are going to fill it up. We normally hold our sales conference in Spain. So normally or regularly, all these words indicate that it is talking about simple present. It normally takes 2 years to develop a new product. So it is also coming in the simple present tense. Usually your sales director deals with important customers. So these are usually, normally, regularly, all these indicate that something has happened and is happening in now, and it will regularly happen. So you will be using the simple present form of the tense. Okay, so the base form of the verb is used along with some words added to it if situation demands. With this, we are ending this video. Thank you.